Welcome back to the Warcraft news. Things are changing fast. Now, the good news is this video contains a list of classes, maybe yours, that are getting buffed. So that will be fun. The less good news for some is that the fun police have also showed up. Plenty of people are not thrilled, but to be honest, I still think we're coming out ahead big picture, and I get why Blizzard are doing what they're doing. As an example, just as we figured out that the nerfed Zekvir was an extremely easy way to just get a maxed out Great Vault, well, Blizzard stepped in and they changed it. So, starting with this week's reset, Zekvir will no longer grant Great Vault progress whatsoever. And as annoying as that is, I can totally see the logic. Zekvir's normal mode is way easier than a regular tier 8 delve, right? Way easier, and it's literally 5 times as fast, like 90 seconds a pop, which did make it absurdly quick for filling up your vault. Blizzard's wording's also interesting. They said, "We're ending the impulse," which I think just leaks through a little bit of their intent. They know that with Zekvir being this easy, right, to fill up the vault, if they just let that keep on going, people will become very demotivated to do regular delves. Of course, they've got the problem that a tier 8 bountiful delve is the best you can do for gear, and that's going to give you champion gear, unless you happen to be lucky and get one of those little extra treasure maps. Big picture, I expect major gearing changes to delves in Season 2. Those treasure map things show that they're okay with some good gear being there, but I think we all know that getting 3 slots in your Great Vault at 616, which is in fact better than Heroic Raid, getting that in under 20 minutes with Zekvir, I mean, that couldn't last without it damaging the integrity of WoW's gearing loop. So, I get what they're doing. I'm keen to see how Season 2 changes things. But if you would like hours of the most in-depth lore content, you can join Bellular.games today, in fact with a free trial, and you'll get access to the entire Lore Walking podcast. There are so many episodes, almost all of them are evergreen. Recently, we solved the Haranir, we solved the many secrets of the Ringing Deeps, and there's far more over there because you also get our videos early and ad-free. There's a bunch of other things, and our members' Discord where we all hang out as we work and play the game. It's all quite fun. The link's below, and with that said, let's talk about some more changes. So, a lot of players were making an absolute killing, well, ish, out of turning their stacks of resonance crystals. Don't know about you, but I've got more of them than I really can use. They were turning those into gear from the Renown vendor, and then they were dusting that gear and just selling the mats, which basically Blizzard didn't want. They've now changed it so the Renown gear cannot be disenchanted anymore, so if you want epics to disenchant, you may as well go and earn them, which I guess means go do some delves. Look, I've always found shuffles to be fun, but again in this instance, I can at least see their logic. Next then, some slight fun please, because what happened during TBC Timewalking was honestly broken. You see, you could get 500 badges per character for a single dungeon run. Basically, the upfront weekly wasn't made warband wide, but it also wasn't nerfed to reflect how you could now funnel badges to a single character because of warband currency transfers. And with the anniversary event coming along with loads of pricey rewards, Blizzard feared trivialization. Many people were able to quickly farm like 10,000 badges, and if that happened for every other Timewalking weekly, well, the event would kind of be a bit ruined and they'd end up just damaging the long tail of this reward system. But what they did is not full fun, please. So from now on, the first time you complete the Time Warped Prism quest, you will get 500 like always. Past that, you'll earn 200 on your alts, and the quest to kill, in this case Yogg-Saron because it's Wrath Timewalking, is similar where you'll get 500 first time, 300 on repeats. That means that it still is farmable across all your characters, but it's not so lucrative that it basically breaks the economy for that feature. And Blizzard's blue post even says they want playing alts to be a, quote, modest bonus for this. So I think that's fair, and in the past they probably would have clamped down on this way harder or just not have made that currency transferable whatsoever, or maybe transferable with a large tax. So we're absolutely coming out ahead. And speaking of Timewalking, some people have got bad news for the next patch. So the classic PvP rep tokens were going to be on sale, but they're no longer going to be on sale. Some people were basically real excited that they could get the Justicar and Conqueror titles with those tokens instead of grinding hours of Warsong Gulch battles. And sadly for those people, they've been removed from the classic Timewalking vendor in the most recent build. Now, the rest of them are still there, just not the PvP ones. I get how that kind of blows, but honestly, for those titles, I think you should actually have to PvP. Quick aside before we get into the class changes, so the next patch's last PTR build added some NPCs to Dornagal, and they're really interesting. They have massive hints to where we're going next in the plot. It's kind of exciting. The goblins appear to have found a crystal out at sea, and they're racing the Arathi to build something big enough to fly over there. So it seems we may actually go, like, to the other side of the undersea. It's not where I thought we were going, and if true, I mean, man, that's real exciting. Also coming with the next reset is a class tuning pass, and it's honestly a massive one, and thankfully it is for the most part a big list of buffs to people who are underperforming. Closing the gap between hero talents is clearly the main focus though, so Sand Lane, Alraki Reaver, Frostfire, Master of Harmony, Lightsmith, Templar, Mountain Thane, and Void Weaver are all receiving pretty damn substantial buffs. Over for the Warriors, Colossus is a little bit buffed and Slayer is a little bit nerfed. Wildstalker gets a bit of an AoE buff for Feral too, and that's kind of about it for them. Everything else is minor, but the point here is that we're close to the hero talents being an actual choice instead of being a right and wrong answer. As an example, I thought the Templar was cool, so I just rolled with it in my Paladin. Straight up the night that I moved from Templar to Lightsmith, I saw a surge in my DPS, and I just did not appreciate how large the balance difference was between them. So it definitely is good that that's happening, and it's good that this is all coming ahead of the reworks that Blizzard are doing in patch 11.0.5. So that's what's going on there, but there are also some class changes. Vengeance DH has fallen behind a little bit, and therefore it's seeing some survivability and healing buffs. Prot Paladins get some much needed damage and healing buffs, which is real nice. One of our raid tanks was extremely happy to hear that his Word of Glory may actually risk moving his health bar. Shadow Priests then got a solid and warranted 10% to their direct damage spells. Rogue basically just gets buffs across the board. Assassination's tier set is also getting buffed. Subtlety's AoE is getting a big buff via Black Powder, and Outlaws just getting a flat 4% increase, and then some extra on top with Dispatch and Blade Flurry buffs. That's basically it for the class buffs. But there are the BM Hunters. You guys are the only real target of nerfs here, so Basilisk Collar was an exceptionally strong talent and it's being throttled. It's a 60% nerf. But the good news is that is offset by buffs elsewhere, so the end result that's expected anyway is a bit of a single target nerf, but a slight buff to your AoE. The only other nerf then is an odd one. The bonus armor that Augmentation gave to tanks is being cut by 1/3. And I totally get why, it's actually backed by the data. A major limit in pushing keys right now is mobs just pounding tanks into the ground. So with Aug being the only non-healer way to buff a tank in that manner, maybe Blizzard were just afraid of Augvoker being mandatory for high keys, which again is something that happened during the dreaded God comp of Season 2, or at least the latter bit of Season 2 of Dragonflight. And looking at the data, Blizzard were right to be worried. If you look at the Raider IO class populations, it totally does seem that Frost DK, Augvoker, and Resto Shaman are the go-tos already. And I think that also helps explain the big Sand Lane buffs for Unholy and the nerf to Resto Shaman damage. And certainly Blizzard, props for not nerfing Frost DK. They seemingly balance stuff without making people feel too bad. Luckily though, I don't have to tell you about the Holy Paladin nerf, because for some reason they had a flat 5% nerf to healing in the patch notes, but everybody immediately went mad, so they reverted it, and for good reason. It didn't really seem warranted. Looking at Holy Paladin performance, they're fairly middle of the pack, so just hitting them with 5% was weird. Now, they are real strong in Mythic, in skilled hands, but they just weren't deserving of nerfs, so it's good that those nerfs did not make it through, especially when Preservation Evoker just kicks their ass every day of the week. If anyone is to be nerfed, it's probably them. And to be fair, there are some changes to specifics of their healing in Flame Shaper, but nothing that I can see making really a true dent in their sheer level of power. And finally for today, if I was to be a sensationalist, I would say that WoW's experiments are dead, but it's probably not that. What's happened is Orlando Salvatore, the man most known for Plunderstorm antics, has left Blizzard Entertainment after 5 years. He was instrumental in building WoW Classic during his early tenure at the company, and he then moved on to other lead engineer stuff. Most recently, that's things like Plunderstorm and Mop Remix, which were two of the most out there, but I think absolutely just unexpected wins. Not to mention the likes of Follower Dungeons. But of course, just because he's the person who publicly is known for those things, it's not like he sat down and coded the whole thing solo. He was part of a team. He's not the only person involved, so I would expect for those things to continue. And usually when there is a lead person like that leaving, there's a bit of a succession plan so that there's somebody to pick up the slack and step in to take his role on whatever team that was. Anyway, till then, you should check out our Zekvir guide, because while Zekvir is no longer going to be the fastest way to fill up your Great Vault, the hard mode rewards are great. great, and the hard mode fight is something that honestly you'll feel just accomplished with when you're done it. It's an amazing goal to set if you've just not tried harder content in World of Warcraft, the sort of thing where it might take you 50 attempts or 100 attempts, but you see when you kill it, you're just going to feel good. And of course, the normal mode is the fastest way to farm Valor Stones. My head is about to disappear, and it'll be replaced with a link to that video.